Good morning. Thank you. Good to see you. We're going to start our program, and I promise it will not be long, but it certainly will be filled with lots of laughter. And there are nibbly, I call them nibbly bits, over here at the food table, which has already been prayed on. That's good. And so I'm going to say, some of you have asked, don't we get a chance to talk to Bob? Yes, I promise you will. Let us just kind of get through our program. I make it sound like a drudge. It's not. It'll be fun. So we're going to start where we should start, and that is video. Very thanks to Craig Shaw, who does a fabulous job, by the way. Woo! And we're starting with a video from Bob's call right here at our church, and then also the minister who gave the call to us on behalf of Bob that very same day. Are we ready?
My responsibility is to charge Robert Heimach in his duties and responsibilities as senior minister of Irvington Church. The charge is to him personally. None of the rest of you need to pay any attention. You can take a nap or balance your checkbook or even leave for all Robert and I and God care. On the other hand, the truly wonderful thing about the charge is that coming so late in the service, it can't be very long, so you might as well stick around. In order to be brief, Robert, I have outlined my charge into 4 points. The first point is this. Angus, as senior minister of Irvington, never lose your dignity, for this is a dignified congregation with a dignified past. For example, never ever let these good folks know that Jenny's nickname for you is Cuddle Pumpkin. And should they accidentally find out who your name is Cuddle Pumpkin, make sure you insist that they at least call you Reverend Cuddle. Or maybe Pastor Pumpkin. Enough of that. I need to get serious, and point 2 is keep wearing the black shirt with the white collar. You recently explained in print to this congregation why you wear the carpet collar daily, giving all good reasons, including the fact that you're real cheap about spending money on things like shirts and ties, and the fact that a wise old minister told you to wear the collar. But you forgot one reason which is critical for our times and for the state of the church generally. Wearing the collar will remind you and your congregation that you are a highly specialized profession. The buck of responsible example starts and stops with you. You are the theologian. You are the preacher. You are the spiritual leader. You are the steward of the mysteries. You have the education. You have the knowledge and the experience and the expertise no one else has. You are the definer of the faith for our times. You are not morally superior to church members, but you are functionally unique. You are to this church and congregation what an architect is to a building, what an engineer is to a bridge, what a carpenter is to a stack of lumber. Never forget the authority of your professionalism, and never let others forget. Wear the collar, even if people don't like it, maybe especially if they don't like it. Point 3. No one in your profession can do everything well. But there are 2 things you better do well: preaching and pastoral care. It is my secret theory that if a minister is energized in those 2 efforts everything else will fall into place, and that conversely, where churches get into the doldrums and lose their zest, it is because they are not nourished on strong preaching and dutiful pastoral care. So have at it. Spend yourself in preaching and pastoral care, and all the rest that also has to be done will get done more easily. Point number 4. Make certain, do not fail to make certain, that weekly worship of the sovereign God is the sine qua non, the essential and vital center of congregational life and faith at Irvington Church. Enrich worship before you enrich anything else. Do not let Irvingtonians off the hook of their obligation to be faithful weekly in worship. Together as a community of the faithful, as God's own people, give them hell for not attending worship, and give them the grace of God in all its wonder when they do attend. For out of such faithfulness in worship flows all the rest of a church's strength and creativity in mission and ministry. I charge you with all these matters to the certain end that when your time at Irvington is finished, all will say, this was our greatest aspect. This was our golden era. And they will also say, wow, wasn't that Reverend Cuddlecombe in a black?
The word charge is a funny word in that it can have so many different meanings. One, of course, is to command someone or to send someone off with a particular task, to give someone marching orders. The other one, of course, or one of many, is to give energy or to invigorate, to revitalize. About 4 years ago, I bought a motorcycle from a friend's father. It was a red 1983 Honda V45 Magnum. At low miles, and it was the right amount of money. Only one problem. I had no idea how to ride a motorcycle. I took lessons in order to be able to learn how to ride it. I rode it even before I had a license, trying to teach myself. But I was petrified about how to take care of that motorcycle because I'm not mechanically inclined. So I read the owner's manual, like my life depended on it. Because when you're on a motorcycle, it has to be in good working order. Your life does depend on it. When it came time for storing up the motorcycle for the winter, I went to my friend's father from whom I bought the motorcycle, and he suggested that I take the battery out of the motorcycle and store that battery in the house and purchase what's called a contraption that's called a trickle charger. It's a little contraption that you plug to the outlet and then you plug into your battery about once a month. I dutifully charged with the trickle charger my motorcycle battery, hoping they would stay fresh. And when spring came, I reinstalled the battery in the motorcycle and was glad, and I should say a little proud, to see that my newly found mechanical efforts paid off because the motorcycle started right up. A battery stores up its charge, and it just sits there, waiting for that charge to be tapped. Only when that battery is connected to, say, a spark plug in a motor, does it give off its charge, and its stored energy helps power, in this case, a motorcycle. I am certain that God has charged up this congregation throughout its history. The Spirit of God has been the charge that is stored up deep in your hearts as individuals and as a worshiping community. Your ministries have been powered by that spiritual energy and you have been a moving force in this neighborhood. You have cooperated with other churches, and together you've been a positive witness in the life of the city. Now comes an interesting and important time in your life as a congregation. Because in a way, you have been going through a time of trickle charge. You've just gone through an interim period, a period of reconnecting with your identity, re-envisioning the future, retooling for what was to come. God has recharged your battery, brought Robert as your pastor. Now here you sit, your battery charged up and the motor waiting to be revved up. So where will you go? I charge you, I urge you to balance the comfort of heading off to all the old familiar places with a sense of adventure, to go to the new, yet to be familiar places, new directions. I urge you to seek out and discover new destinations in ministry. I encourage you to train new people on how to take care of this venerable engine and welcome their creativity in doing all tasks in new ways. Take every opportunity to pray for and support your pastor so that his batteries remain charged up and uphold his family as they minister among you. And finally, be mindful of your battery being charged up. Whether it is by the motor's movement or by the gentle trickle charge. Let active ministry and quiet reflection be the tools of the Spirit to provide you with the energy, the vision, and the wisdom you will need for the ministry that God has called you to at this time.
And now I'd like to call Craig Shaw and Kristen to the microphone.
I'm not used to being on this end of a microphone too much. One thing we all know about Bob is how his ecological stewardship has grown over the years. EcoBob has done many things to help lead IPC in the ongoing quest to be more environmentally friendly. During his tenure, IPC has reduced its reliance on styrofoam and increased its use of recyclable coffee hour cups. Good job, Bob. He and Jenny have been huge advocates of equal exchange products and its message of economic and environmental justice. Perhaps one of Bob's proudest accomplishments has been leading IPC to the pinnacle of equal exchange sales in Indiana in the past year. Over the years, Bob has been known to grouse at staff meetings about the number of lights being left on throughout the building and imploring us to make sure they were all turned off when we left. Take a look over here across the parking lot at the rain garden currently being built. It's going to help filter chemicals and residue from rainwater that's flowing across the asphalt. Instead of it being dumped into the gutters and down the storm sewers, it'll help be absorbed through that rain garden. Then there is, of course, the installation of the solar panels. But this was a double win, helping the budget with lower electricity bills, as well as reducing IPC's reliance on coal-produced electricity. Bob has definitely been an advocate of the environmental mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle. There's been one thing, however, that Bob steadfastly refuses to recycle: his sermons. Having heard my fair share of Bob's sermons, dating back to, 1997-ish? Maybe even earlier than that. I have never, ever heard Bob repeat a sermon. Besides Jenny and a few other people, I have probably been present for more of Bob's sermons than about anybody. Bob has always been a firm believer in theologian Karl Barth's advice to ministers of preaching using the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. Bob's sermons have almost always been relevant and timely. Come on, I'm sure he'll admit that there have been a scant few scattered throughout his career that weren't exactly theological gems or rhetorical perfection. Am I right? Okay. But I digress. Back to the point, I've never heard Bob repeat a sermon. This is not to say, however, that there has never been some repetition in Bob's sermons. I'm not talking about theological points. I'm not talking about his references to hymns or biblical figures or other churchy stuff. But I think you all know what I'm talking about. How many times has the reputation of the innocent tomato, how many times has it been impugned during a particularly difficult discourse? How many times has that idyllic village of Carmel been exegetically excoriated? And not to mention the repeated reverence of in all of its gold-domed glory. I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but I don't think we've ever heard the grand trifecta of Tomato, Carmel, and Notre Dame ensconced in one sermon. It would take a little research to find out for sure. I don't think so, Bob, do you? No, okay. And it's not just the aforementioned big three that Bob has so often referenced. Now, I can't speak for his Laporte preaching days. Patrick may be able to fill us in a little on this, but I can attest that from time to time, Bob has been known to utilize the same illustrations, anecdotes, or stories in his sermons. Or jokes. Hey, I'm not even going the joke route. Okay. I'm sure some of you may have heard a childhood story or college escapade or seminary tale referenced in more than one of Bob's sermons. Here is a non-exhaustive list of those anecdotes that I know I have heard more than once. There is the infamous story of the vacuum cleaner that Bob's father used to siphon gasoline from the family car, resulting in a big explosion. Admit it, Bob, you've used that one more than once. Twice. I've been there for both, at least. Seminary student Bob washing dishes in the cafeteria while being distracted by a cute cafeteria employee. I think she was usually baking cookies, right, Jenny? Yes. Okay. Hey, and by the way, I don't have this good of a memory to remember these just once. Ask my wife. She has to tell me things again and again. When a young Bob amazingly and perfectly caught a tennis ball heaved high into the air in the can from which it came. Bob's hoping that ball thrown way up, he had the can, and he just caught it perfectly. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, Bob, because he's hoping that the Vatican will count this on his way to his eventual sainthood. Banker Bob, fearing arrest after forgetting to put the evening till in the vault on a Friday evening before locking it up for the weekend. During Bob's youth, when Buckingham Castle called to invite the Heimach family while on a trip to Great Britain for a private audience with the Queen. Really didn't happen. The 1977 DeKalb Barons baseball team's championship game, and Bob receiving the Mental Attitude Award that season. Any number of Bob's Notre Dame exploits, from his RA days to reveling in the football team's greatness when he was there. All right. Bob's dad stopping the Auburn First PC bus across the train tracks, claiming that it had broken down in order to get a rise from the congregation members on board. I think Bob's mentioned a time or two his days as a flower delivery driver. Yeah. And there was something in there about skiing instead of studying before ordination exams, when you should have been studying instead of skiing. Yeah. Well, that's just a short list. There are others. I'm sure there are many more that I have missed that maybe you remember hearing more than once. These stories and illustrations are obviously important or poignant, offering a snapshot of a particular place and time in Bob's journey. These are the pieces of himself that he has shared with us to help us understand his journey so that we can hopefully make more sense of our own journeys. Your recycling your stories isn't a criticism. It's not a complaint, Bob. They are what makes you, you. And we will miss you. Congratulations to you and to Jenny, and enjoy yourselves. And you know, I'm not sure that I've ever really believed that tennis ball catching story. I want to see a reenactment one of these days. Thank you, Bob.
So I am here today to address a rumor. Those of you who have worked for Bob or worked in committees with Bob or perhaps not had the opportunity, you might have heard that Bob can be a little controlling. It's just a rumor. Most of you know that Craig and I did serve as youth directors along with Bob for 17 plus years, both at Bluffton and here at IPC. During that time, Bob did not micromanage our theology. There were very few times when he said anything about what we were teaching the youth or doing. He did not criticize the way we spent money, the way we raised money. There were some pretty unique and crackpot ideas that we came up with, and Bob was our cheerleader. He's like, go for it, give it a try. There were 2 times, however, when Bob was perhaps a little controlling in our lives. Somehow, as our mentor, our spiritual guide, Bob thought he should be able to name our children. In the late winter of 1998 into the early 1999, a very pregnant Kristen sat in the pews while Bob, from the pulpit no less, announced to the congregation that the wee child I was carrying would be named Angus if it were a boy, and if the child were a girl, Angus would make a lovely middle name. So Ethan James arrived, and Bob lost that one. Sorry, Bob. 3.5 years later, fast forward, and this time we knew we were having a boy. And we had probably in multiple session meetings and just meetings with Bob, we had discussed the fact that we were going to name this child Micah. His name would be Micah David. We had perhaps mentioned in passing that his name, far second name was Elijah. So the morning that we went in to have this baby, we dropped a very young Ethan off at the Bluffton First Presbyterian Church daycare, and we were followed down the hall by Bob. And those of you who were cool cats in the late 60s, early 70s, you can imagine what he was singing behind me. Eli's coming. Eli's coming. So when we met this child later that evening, we were shocked to find that Bob was right. And this child introduced himself to us and said, "My name's Elijah." Not really, but he did. And so Bob was right on that one, which I'm guessing is probably a lot of what it's like to be the leader of an institution that is made up by people. You win some, you lose some, sometimes you have control, and sometimes you have no control. All of that, though, Bob, it has been a joy for you to have been my pastor for pushing 30 years, Bob, if we're both honest with each other. It has been an honor for you to be my friend, and that has been the most important part. So go be amazing and have fun and enjoy retirement, and remember that we're all cheering for you, and we love you.
As you can tell, there's history, isn't there? Kristen said 30 years. I guess I'd say to Bob and Jenny, if they look through the peephole in their door and they see the Shaws with suitcases, not sure I'd open the door here in retirement, you know? They followed him along, probably. Our next video is from the Wimberleys, wonderful family who are related to other people in this room, by the way, Jenny Giddens. And there are two videos here from the Wimberleys and from Ware Wimberley. Thank you.
I'm so very sorry, but you'll all have to cancel this event. There is no possibility that Bob is old enough to retire. It can't have been more than 15 years since Bob and Jenny moved to LaPorte, where he accepted a call. I doubt if any other church staff had so much fun doing serious work, planning and doing serious worship. The other thing I can't resist telling you is that early on, Bob remarked that he preferred to be called Robert. I never heard anybody call him Robert, so I turned to Jenny and said, "Jenny, what do you call him?" And she smiled demurely and answered, "Cuddle Pumpkin."
Hi, Bob. This is Ware. Just wanted to wish you the best with your retirement and just hope you and Jenny have a blast in the years to come. Take care.
Next up will be David Hansen.
Hi, everyone. So, of course, today is a special day, a day to reflect and celebrate the times over the past 17 plus years we have spent with our senior pastor, Reverend Robert A. Heimach, otherwise known as Pastor Bob or just Bob. I know most of you have your own stories and memories of your time with Bob, the laughs you've shared together or the tears that you've shed together. The conversations you have had over the years, sometimes serious, sometimes very thought-provoking, and sometimes just light and humorous. The times when you went to Bob for advice and comfort, or even the times when he reached out to you too. So I'll spend a few minutes sharing my thoughts and memories about Bob. This is kind of from the nominating committee Bob had mentioned during church, so it's just some times from that time when we got Bob as our pastor. So for those who weren't in church, let me repeat. The committee members on the nominating committee were Sherry Patterson, Jenny Giddens, Joe Dial, Luann Hogg, Karen Brick, Sally Lewis, Bill Wilkins, and Janet McLaren. So we met for over a year, because do everything was decent and orderly, and no minister will come before their time. So we met for over a year, working through that process that's uniquely Presbyterian before settling on Bob. We had heard him preach prior to offering him the position at IPC, and we just knew we had the right person for the right time for our church. As most of you know, the A, I've already said it here, and the Robert A. Heimach stands for Angus. I think, truth be told, once Janet McLaren knew that your middle name was Angus, she was sold, didn't even have to hear you preach. It was a done deal, and we were going to hire you. So yesterday I Googled. I'm pretty hip, I can do that. I looked up what Angus means, and of course it's Celtic in origin. It means, what my version I read means one choice. And in Celtic mythology, there was a god called Angus Og, O-G, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. And Angus Og is a god of attractive traits such as humor and wisdom. So does this fit our Angus? Yeah, I think so. So as I mentioned, it's a long process. We had several interviews with Bob over the phone and then finally in person. Bob answered all of our questions honestly, in wisdom, and even tough questions. We had a few tough questions for Bob, we really did, and very challenging. But Bob reminded me recently, not only were we seeking answers from him, but he was also gauging how we were as a congregation, what were our values and beliefs. Would he want to come to be our next minister at church? So the committee was sure we had the right person, and he and Jenny came down for one final interview in person at the church. I just remember we had just had a huge thunderstorm, I think, and one of their first things, geez, a lot of trees down here, down on the ground in Irvington. It's like, yeah, it's usually not that bad. So anyway, we were very impressed with Bob, but once we met Jenny, I mean, that really sealed the deal. It really did, because we knew they had a great relationship as a couple, and their family would fit in great in IPC. So Bob had to come. A lot of you remember he came the Sunday when he preaches for the congregation, then we have a formal vote, and I was pretty nervous. I don't know the other committee members. This guy we're picking, so hoping everyone likes what he has to say. So prior to that Sunday, we had asked Bob if he wanted to do the children's sermon, in addition to the homily. So he said, sure, I'll do that. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, was that the right decision? Because a children's sermon, a lot of things could really go haywire, and it's one thing when you're the pulpit, but it's another thing when the kids are all kind of massing around you. Excuse me. But when he came down off the pulpit to greet the kids, well, if I remember, Bob had a jar of M&Ms in his hand, right? I think so, yeah. And then those kids, you had them literally eating out of your hand, sold. So I said, this guy's a pretty smart guy. I mean, he can work with the kids, work with the adults. He's good. So anyway, of course we voted him in, and we've had a great relationship with you and your family for over 17 and a half years. All right, but I get back to Janet McLaren just for a little bit. For about the first year or two after Bob came, she still lived on the north side, so I would pick her up and give her a lift down for whatever committee we were on. It might have been personnel, but I don't know, deacons or what have you. So she would always say on the ride down in her Scottish brogue, which I'm not going to try to replicate because I'm not going to get it right. So she said, David, we've done really good. We have our wee Scottish lad. Or sometimes she would say, we have our wee little Elfie. And if you look, for you guys can see, there's the little elf. This is a cute picture. He's kind of elfish looking, right? A little mischievous there. Little, Notre Dame, leprechaun maybe. So I know she meant it as a term of endearment. Either probably some Scottish compliment or your youthful appearance, and not a commentary on your physical stature. I don't think so. I have to say, where's the 17 plus years gone? It's gone by just like that. Listening to the charge to you when you joined IPC all those years ago, I think you have more than met your charge. As Bill charged you, you have always conducted yourself in a dignified manner, and you have kept worship as a sacred time. I think you really meant it when you said, put all of these things out of your mind and focus solely on the worship of God. That was very important. You kept your white collar on to always represent our spiritual leader. You have always emphasized pastoral care and preaching, knowing everything else would take care of itself. You have enriched the worship service and remained faithful to the sovereign God. But I bet you didn't predict the pandemic over the last year or so, right? Or the rest of the IPC staff. So I would say the way you have held the church together over the last year plus, it's been, to me, it's amazing. Of course, you had great help with Maureen and her wonderful talents. Amy, AV was Craig, couldn't, just everything. The rest of the staff, Lori, Joe, who else am I missing? Carolyn, yeah, Liz, Denise, yeah, Tian, yeah. So all those folks who just kind of kept the glue together, and hopefully now we're kind of starting to see the other side. So it's been great. And of course, people still talk about your viral Justin Timberlake dance number with Jenny on YouTube, right? We went to, Susan and I went to a wedding yesterday, kind of a venture out, and they played that song. I thought, oh yeah, that's right. So if you guys hadn't seen it, it was really, so like the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, everyone was kind of in the throes of what the heck's going on here, and they put that out. It was really uplifting. I think it really was. You did a great job, really great job. So I guess on a personal note, thank you. You've been there for pastoral care, like when my father-in-law, Dr. John Seawright, passed on. You were great. I think we ended up changing the program for the funeral like maybe 4 times, like in 3 days, but no problem. You did it gracefully. Marrying Emmeline and Scott, even though Scott grew up in Carmel, you put all that aside and said, yeah, okay, I can marry him. Also, baptism, and then, of course, the crowning moment, Chris and Maggie married at the farm, Bob, a family farm. Put on your muckers, kind of had to tromp through a little mud to get up to the spot, which really was, we call it our sacred space now. We'll go by, oh, look, there's a sacred space. So it was just great, and it's in a cow pasture, but it was really great. It really was. Okay, so the only puzzler from the charge was this reference to cuddle pumpkin. Okay, where did that come from? All right, Jenny, well, maybe afterwards you can share whatever that meant. So anyway, Bob, thank you for being our pastor, and enjoy your retirement. And whether folks know you as Reverend Heimach, Pastor Bob, Agus, or even Cuddle Pumpkin, I know we will all miss you, but are happy you are beginning the next chapter in your journey. Thank you.
Well, and to continue now with the Scottish theme, we welcome a video from the Abercrombies, I believe. No? Oh, no, it would be Sue. Oh, my, I'm so sorry. This would be mother-in-law to our beloved pastor, who sent a video, and after her will be Alec Wimberly.
Congratulations, Bob, on this new chapter in your life. Fortunately, I have been with you on many special occasions. Your graduation from seminary, your wedding to my daughter, your ordination. I'm sorry, but this time I have to miss it. Bob, I am so proud to have you as a son-in-law. you and Jenny have set a high standard for your children on how to share in a marriage and in your careers. The way you two have merged your lives together has been exemplary. Yours is a great example of a God-filled marriage. Your mother is no longer physically among us, but I know deep in my heart there is no one any prouder of you than she is. May God bless you and Jenny on many travels ahead.
Hello, Bob and Jenny. Greetings from Northern Ireland, and you might be able to make out Girvan and Ayrshire way off in the distance behind me. Happy retirement to you both. I am reminded as I'm standing out here in the wind that the coldest winter Jenny ever spent was a summer in Northern Ireland. But before the people of Irvington descend into a puddle of tears at your departure, I just want to thank you both on behalf of so many for whom you have brought a great deal of joy, including our own family. From Deegs Day in LaPorte and the many just hoots and hollers of laughter that my dad and Bob would have had in staff meetings at Fort Presbyterian Church, to the great joy you've brought to the people of Irvington every Sunday, obviously, along with great thoughts, but through lockdown videos and just being yourselves. So, even though I'm sure everybody is just ready to weep and wail and gnash their teeth, we also have a lot to celebrate. And so we give you thanks for all the joy you have brought to us through your many years of ministry and service. Bye, and come and see us when it's safe to do so. Bye.
And now we'd like to welcome Dr. Graham.
Well, listen, this is a wonderful time. I have returned to the church for the first time in a year and a half. I said I would drag my body here to be with Bob. I think of Bob as more than my pastor, my minister. He's my friend. How many friends do we have in life that you would die for? And Bob's right up at the top. I don't want to get maudlin. I don't want to be crying. I don't want us to be sad. Bob and I do share a few things. We both have Scotch heritage. We both have family members who have been ministers. I broke the bond, unfortunately, became a physician. I was thinking back, I was looking at our building over there. I'm older than that building. And she looks a heck of a lot better than I do. I've been a member for 60 years, a lot of ministers. I'm going to use a line that was used on me one time. Of all the ministers I've known through the years, Bob Heimach is one of them. Bob has been so kind to me, so kind to my wife, and to the family. I want to commend Craig on his presentation because he took half of my speech away. He forgot to mention all those little things that Bob also mentioned. How about the gang up in the balcony? How many times did that? Or the Chicago Cubs? Or the boiler that kept breaking down? But you know, those things, I remember back when Bob first came, I think if I'd heard that talk of his that they showed early on, I would have voted against him. But but many of you don't remember Bob when he first came. I mean, this man has worked hard. He's been through trials and tribulations, And it shows. Maybe you won't remember that. Many of you probably don't remember when Bob came. He was 6'3" and weighed 200. And he had a head of blonde, bushy hair and a ponytail. But you know, I was kind of worried about what Bob's going to do. In fact, when I saw the tent, Bob, I thought we were going to have a revival and you were going to be healing people tonight. Those of you who've been worried about what Bob's going to do, oh, you know, Jenny, I also forgot one thing. The comments, you know, Bob always did not want to include family in his sermons. How many times did you come up, and Abby and Lassie? I used to get sick of it. I said, you know, I said, I had family. My family was never mentioned, but one thing that delighted me was that I was aware, sitting in the back of the church with my wife, and with the recessional, Bob would be coming up the aisle, holding a hymnal, and the choir would be coming behind, and Bob would stop by my pew, and I suddenly was aware that he'd run out of words, and he was just singing, la 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 la, la 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 la. So I have petitioned the Presbyterian Church with the next hymnal. We're going to have a hymnal dedicated to Bob. It's just called La 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 La. I also think a lot of you are worried about what Bob's going to do. You know, that thing about, you know, life after Bob. It'll probably go on for a while. But, you know, there are opportunities that you don't know about. He has been asked by Giacomo's to be a senior server. And many of you don't know that his nickname at Giacomo's is Extra Cheese. Also, I think you'll probably be seeing him on TV selling those solar panels, too. But the best of all, we've arranged for Bob to have a special parking spot on Mass Avenue, and you can pull in your car. And it's called Park and Pray. Bob will get in your car, and for at least 5 minutes, we'll pray with you and for you, and he will take all credit cards. You may have also, it was mentioned, I believe, by someone about Bob and his starched white collar. Many of you don't know, Jenny told me this, and she was always embarrassed. They would go out to dinner at Mass Avenue, and just before the bill would arrive, he would slip that collar on, and he'd get 20% off. Well, last, you know, Bob, there has been a movement, many of you don't know, that you'll be asked to contribute. They want to erect a statue of Bob in the parking lot. I talked to Dave Hansen, the contributions are a little slow, and we only have enough money for 1 foot. But it'll be nice. That may be his best part. All right, that's enough. As I said, I don't want to have tears. It's been a tough year for everybody. It's been a tough year for me and my family. And I sometimes say, you know, if you don't try to smile or laugh, you'll cry all the time. Again, Bob and Angus, to me, are a dear friend. Enjoy, sleep in on Sunday mornings, and enjoy not having to go to all those darn meetings. Thank you. God bless.
I mean, what do you say, really? You know. Now the video from Scotland and the Abercrombies, the friends of Bob and Jenny. After that will be Faith Ministry, a video there. And after that, I'll ask Mo to come up and do a blessing. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, cool. I appreciate the help. 2 videos, and then Muhammad will come. Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, Bob. Hi. Hello from Scotland. We've known each other for about 23 years now, and we've somehow, despite the distance, managed to keep in touch with one another. And you've even invited us to join the IPC Mexico mission trip, which was an experience that we all treasure. So we just got together to say Lang me your Lumric, which is a Glaswegian way of saying hope you have a long and happy retirement. Although what you're retiring from, somebody who only works 1 day a week, I don't know. Hopefully with your extra time you'll be able to do a bit more travelling, and hopefully you'll include Scotland when you're travelling, because your Scottish accent needs all the help it can get. We all love you over here. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bob, a good old buddy, old friend. You know, we asked everyone, all our friends in Mexico, and we couldn't, we're trying to find a story of you working so hard over here, but guess what? We couldn't find anything. But all kidding aside, my friend, you know we love you. We know we respect you so much. We know how much we enjoy working with you, and I know that you're retiring, but you're too young to retire, my friend. But enjoy, and we send all kinds of blessings your way.
Bob, congratulations. We couldn't be happier for you in this big step in your life for you and Jenny, and I know that Irvington will miss you, and I hope that you retiring doesn't mean that you won't come down here, because we will need to see you back down here soon. But congratulations on all of your years serving at Irvington, and we couldn't be happier for the partnership that we have with your church, and for the friendship that we have with you and Jenny and the rest of our friends at Irvington. So congratulations and enjoy your retirement.
Hello everyone. We are very happy to see all of you again. And just like always, we are very thankful to all your support to the Alhamwe family. Mr. Bob, you will be missed. You are very patient and humble. We are happy for you, and we hope that you will have a great time off. Knowing you was a pleasure to us, and it's an honor helping you celebrating your retirement. And we definitely will be in touch.
Robert, I want to make notice that I was not invited to give a speech. I was given a designated job because there are some secrets that we just take with us.
We have plenty of 1-minute churches we can explore.
Oh yeah, that's true. Thank you all for being here for the stories shared. Our relationship working together is just one part of a very long ministry, and I'm thankful to be a part of it. So for all the work that the committee's done, for everybody who's been a part of this church, for the stories that we take with us, the laughter, the tears, I'm thankful for all of you, but especially for Bob and Jenny and your family. For everything there is a season, a time to go and a time to come, yet the Spirit blows where it will. And for those who are led by the Spirit, they must follow. God has blessed the Church of Irvington Presbyterian Church and ministry of Reverend Heimach for almost 18 years of service. He has been in Christ our counselor, our teacher, and our friend. With joy and sadness, we mark and celebrate his retirement and the end of his ministry with us. Bob, God called you to be a minister, to proclaim the good news, to announce God's forgiveness, to preside at celebrations of the sacraments, and to comfort people with the gospel in times of sickness and trouble and in death of loved ones. You have provided leadership and guidance in the Spirit of Christ. You've challenged us with the gospel mission in your work. You've helped us to mark our directions and encouraged us on our way. Together you have served the Lord in common devotion to the gospel, sharing in our joys and our sorrows. You've been important to us in our life together as a church of Jesus Christ. We thank God for the time we have shared together. Our lives have been intertwined by the Holy Spirit. Will you all please pray with me? Eternal God, we thank you for Robert Heimach and for our life together in this congregation and community. You have led him by the Holy Spirit to serve your people in this place, to build up your church, and to glorify your name. We have worked in common for the sake of the gospel. Together we have studied your word. Together we have broken bread and given thanks. In thanksgiving, we praise you for raising up faithful servants among us for the ministry of your church. And we pray that Bob may continue to exemplify in word and deed the gospel of your Son. Grant that we all may continue to serve you in the church on earth and be brought to rejoice in your kingdom forever, through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Scripture tells us that endings are only new beginnings. Therefore, let us go doing God's will in our respective places for the sake of the gospel of Christ. Go now and do God's will. As you have been a blessing to us, also may you be a blessing to others in retirement. Witness faithfully in word and deed to the love of salvation that is known to us. And as always, as you have always done, strive for righteousness, justice, faithfulness, love, endurance, and gentleness among others. Give and receive comfort as you serve within the world. May God bless you in your ministry in retirement, and may God be with you and with all of you until we meet again.
And now a special song from the choir.
At first you got your call with Jenny by your side. Accounting wasn't hip, so it was set aside.
Then you went up to Laporte to learn all you could from Billy.
You said you referenced sports too much, but otherwise your sermon's thrilled. And then you moved across the state.
With your young family, the Bluffton folks, that you were great.
They liked you so much, some even went to the city and followed in your path to settle here at IPC. These tries were great, and wedding dates.
All Hallows Eve and softball teams were cause to celebrate.
1 minute church and madrigals and mission trips.
Don't forget all the jokes about Notre Dame and Methodists.
And now you
Well, certainly heartfelt. So many feels today. Can I ask just for our committee who had such a joyous time doing this, it would be Craig Shaw. He does everything, of course. It would be David Hansen. Where are you? I hear your voice. There he is, standing up. Kathy Moorhead. And there she is right here. And Ginny Giddens right here. And we truly had a great time just coming together. There's no better way for you to have done your job than to show us how you walk the faith journey. And it makes such a difference. And so appreciate you shining your light on all of us. We will take that with us. We have captured it in little ways, as you've already seen, and know that you're going to have a great next chapter. And then so will we. So thank you so much, my dear. It's just been a treasure. Thank you. And so now's your time where you can mob him. Yes. If you've not eaten, please do so. Please hang around and do whatever you need. If you need to stand out in the sun, we certainly understand. We just couldn't get it piped in here. Thank you so much. You have a lovely Sunday.